eyes touching you. And every time you whisper my name, I wanna run to you. We'll be together, yeah. And it won't be long, it won't be long, but it seems like forever, yeah. And it's hard on my own, baby, 'cause I'm missing you now. And it's driving me crazy, 'cause I'm needing my baby. I'm missing you now. Yeah. Can't wait another long year, baby, 'cause I'm missing you now. Ooh, needing you right here by my side is all that I can do. Ah, arms around my pillow at night, they should be holding you. Oh, I was much stronger. How could I know? How could I know? But it seems like forever. And it's hard to be strong, baby, 'cause I'm missing you now. And it's driving me crazy. I'm needing my baby. I'm missing you now. Yeah. Gonna wait now.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming and vibing. Welcome. My name's Melanie. I am the Senior Director of Public Programming here at the Center for Fiction. It's my absolute joy every year to be a small part of the Brooklyn Caribbean Literary Festival, and we're proud to be a home for it for 6 years now. And this is the best shirt that I've ever been given in my whole life, truly. It's a real pleasure to introduce. Well, I'm not really going to introduce the event, but I just want to say the two artists who are on this stage have spent a lot of time in this room. And so I'm really happy that they're coming back to the stage. And I'm going to turn it over to Marcia, who's going to introduce them.
Yes, yes.
Good afternoon. All right, so you are hostages for the rest of the day. There's we at the break there ought to be corn soup, which is a Trinidadian pastime, and a meal. Just like Old Talk, this event is a social function and pastime. Thank you for being here. Thank you to the Center for Fiction and to all of our sponsors for allowing us to come and do a BCLF takeover every September. We are a not for profit organization, a little one, but growing in strength, dedicated to uplifting the Caribbean writer and the Caribbean American voice. And our approach to what we do is multidisciplinary, and it's oftentimes experimental. And there is nothing more favorable than a sponsor like the Center for Fiction and writers like Jive and Mahogany who allow us to experiment with their own craft and their own spaces. So this event is entitled Old Talk. Um, and it was originally meant to take place between Jive and his best friend, but as luck and life would have it, there Jive is gonna do the event. Should I say who you are? Should I say who you are? Yeah, with his wife, Miss Mahogany Browne, right? Um, And the premise of this conversation, when we thought about it, and there's a DJ set because I'll tell you a little bit about who he is if you don't know who he is. The premise of this conversation is to bring into the scientific fiction and into Brooklyn a time honored pastime that has a social function, which is old talk, right? Our brief for this says that there's nothing more Caribbean than the informal practice of casual, truth bearing conversations between friends. Seemingly idle, the art of old talk is a vital element of Caribbean life, knitting society affairs, politics, economics, and history into the DNA of memory. It is within this tradition a no holds barred conversation between two brethren, and if a good marriage is believed to be between best friends, I don't think there are two better brethren to have this conversation today. That we present Jive's new memoir, Skip Tracer, hosted by Mahogany Browne, his wife. The brilliance of Skip Tracer, Rico says he was the one who was originally supposed to do this conversation with Jive, is his luminous ability to bring joy and reverence to culture, diaspora, music, imagery, memory, all with a genuine love for his Afro-Caribbean heritage via the booming sound system of family legacy. I believe, are you gonna go straight into the conversation? Or are you gonna do a set?
Thank you. Is this Michael? Can they hear me? Is it on?
Let's try.
They can't hear me?
Talking to.
I'm talking. They can't. They only can hear me talking to them. They can't hear me.
1 2 1 2 1 1 1.
Green light is on. Oh, there we go. There we go.
That's
Now we're in the
nice.
game.
That was
All right.
really nice.
Check
As
it
long
out.
as they hear you, I think it's good.
No, it's us.
This is my favorite person in the world, also my
Check me
favorite
out.
poet in the world, also my favorite DJ in the world.
What?
I just so happen to be able to partner in creating amazing literary experiences with this person. And to see this book in the world and not just on my desktop is a joy. This is 10 years in the making, y'all. So please make some noise for Jive Poetic.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And I have a small little intro that I have for him, and then he's going to do a set of poetry, and then we'll have a discussion as family. Is that cool? Yeah. Good. Once I wrote, when I say win, I mean survive. When I say survive, I mean fall asleep and wake up without being haunted. When I say haunted, I mean post-traumatic stress looks like a stand-up comedian bent over enough freebase to set himself on fire. Imagine his burning body, the funniest thing a room full of strangers have ever seen. That's what Jive Poetic wrote about 5 or 6 years ago at Pratt Institute as a part of their Writing and Activism MFA program. And in that moment, Jive taught me what it means to be a real one. Because he said this statement about Richard Pryor.
Richard Pryor, yeah.
In a room full of whiteness.
Oh, double. It was double.
Double whiteness,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
More whiteness than most.
That's right, right.
But he humanized this person that was easy to, create a laugh track against. So Jive is excellent, exemplary, and one of our best at discussing art and activism, Blackness and masculinity, hip hop and appropriation. These are themes that permeate his body of work. These intersections demand awareness and actualization of the multitude in the Black male experience. If anything, Jive teaches us how to be a hip hop scholar, a lover of New York, and a devout revolutionary. Please welcome to the stage, to the mic, Jive Poetic.
Whoa, I didn't realize that was you was going. Wait, do I go to the? I feel like they can hear me. Can you guys?
This is your show.
I feel like
You
double
can
the
be
mics
there,
would be.
You can stand up. I can move. I could be a hype woman.
Hype person to be gender inclusive, No, I think I can read it from here if that's okay. I don't know. How does it? I feel good. Thanks for asking. I feel excellent. Thank you very much.
What should I do?
Yeah, okay, so I'll read some pieces. And I was like, man, well, where do I start? I don't know which poems to order. But then I realized they're in the book. They're already in order. That's the hard part is done. I don't have to figure that out anymore. So I'll read some pieces directly out of the book. How's everybody doing? Good? Good? Okay. Everybody kind of had good, we're good. Thank you for asking us. All right. This first piece is called Mixed Down. mix down. Kick drum. Customs agents don't care. Snare. Your country was destabilized by the flag on their paychecks baseline. Deportation comes with a jail cell, cords. I think about this from a distance. Vocal track. Jamaicans only hear my American accent. Reverb. They call me freshwater Yankee. Reverb. They call me Jamaican. Reverb. They call me Jafacan. Compression. Whenever they get a chance. Sample. They don't do this to white people. They don't do this to white people. Keys. Not even the ones with the dreadlock wigs. Strings, they know where the money is. Vocal track, the first time I heard Spanish, it was spoken to my great-grandmother. Vocal track, the first time I needed Spanish, a teacher graded me on it. Last time I needed Spanish, I had to think in English first. Background, nobody told me about Jamaicans in Panama. Background, nobody told me about Jamaicans in Cuba. Harmony, school taught Black history. Filter, they defunded the Swahili teacher. Pan left, language is culture. Pan right, culture is language. Compression, they want standard American. Echo, this is how the world sees me. Feedback, my birth certificate. Feedback, my passport. Feedback, my accent. Feedback, no fear of deportation. Mix down, luxury. Mix down, privilege. Mix down, distortion. Mix down. Thank you. Thank you. Probably should put some like little bookmarks in here or something like that, you know? That would have been smooth. That would have like, and brought my glasses. That would have, okay. Really like, but I can never see them to find them to get this. It's a very complicated process. All right, so I have this piece, and it's about my uncle. My uncle raised me like I always feel like I introduced it that way. It's just like my pops or something like that. But he raised me, and as with most West Indian people, he raised me in allegories. He's like, all right, this is this, and it's a whole other story. And I gotta take out the meaning from it. So this is, the neighborhood has named him the mayor. So that is his name throughout the book. All right. The mayor be like, ain't nobody trying to buy no used car, only one window work. Rear view mirror got a crack in it. Back left tire flat. Cigarette butts all up in the ashtray. Coat hanger where the antenna's supposed to be. Trunk got a bungee cord rope holding it closed. Inside smell like Aquavelva. Aquavelva smell like drugstores. Don't nobody want no used car smelling like no drugstore. Drugstores sell A&D ointment and lottery tickets at the same time. Plus, what you look like buying a used car, one seat got a rip in it. Glove compartment won't stay closed. Headlight work when it won't to. Air conditioner work when it won't to. Radio work when it won't to. Muffler drag on the ground and make all kind of noise. How you buying a car that sounds like it's going faster than it is, even when it stopped at a red light? Got to shift in the neutral so the engine don't cut off. Got to pump the gas in neutral so the engine don't cut off. Got to ride around with booster cables just in case the engine cut it off. Don't nobody got no time to be on no side of the road with no booster cables. Booster cables is dangerous. Sparks be flying all over the place. Tow truck drivers talking about distributor cap, alternator belt, timing belt. Don't nobody know what no timing belt is, and if they do know, then they know they don't want no broken one. But the market is risky. New cars, shiny. People try and steal them. Old cars, classic. People try and steal them. Broken cars, fix them. People try and steal them. And this ain't even about what you can fix. It's about knowing what you can't, because time is an investment, is a commitment, is a relationship. And don't nobody need no relationship with this many red flags if they know they ain't no mechanic. Thank you. I haven't fully figured out why every time I do a poem, I step back. I'm like, all right. All right. I'm not sure why that is a thing. All right. I'm very happy I didn't wear the same shirt in the picture. I did that before. It was very weird. All right. I'll do a couple of other poems that they're in the book, but I have them in memory. Kingston ends when the Rasta tells me everything I'm looking for is already looking for me. The van between parishes, a pilgrimage through the archives. I've imagined this landscape. The breadfruit trees, the ackee trees, the family, roots I'd never found any living in Jamaica. But today, I am butterfly net determined to capturing a fluttering mythology in Manchester. I speak birth certificates over the telephone, and my accent crawls back to New York, places its version of Jamaican patois back on the shelf next to the pictures and recipes and other chip statuettes I'm here to reassemble. The next day, a computer search surrenders a death certificate with an address. I find a house caged in, a patient revelation. A woman answers the door, speaks in kaleidoscopes, point at the sky. It flies, a swallowtail. I follow. It becomes a cousin. We meet for the first time. It rains as we hug like a fork in the road. bent back on itself. Thank you. That did it again. I did it again. I stepped back. There's nowhere to go back here. I got to get like a move, like a. I got to get like an Olympic move. Okay, that's
Get your dismount.
I got to get a dismount. I'm gonna periodically work on. Not today, because this is a very high stage. If I fall off, I'm not sure about the insurance. Okay, all right, here we go. No, it's a real concern. All right. The photo gallery. A museum we search for lives fallen out of touch on the gallery floor, an exhibit we trace against the folklore. We think we know something about Jamaica, so we think we know something about this tableau. Pressed between the plastic and the context it falls from, itself identifies Panama, and it is inscribed to Aunt Betty. Age paints over everything she's ever seen. She now sees for the first time. Every time she sees it again, the signature claims itself her cousin. I take its word for it. She takes mine but forgets. In Brazil, a woman loses her grandfather. She doesn't know we found him because we are too far in the future. I researched the image and social media rabbit holes. Over the years and distance, we find again the man we could not place. At a wedding with his granddaughter, they look at me through a picture. I reach out, she sees me and reaches back. Thank you. Oh. All right. I'm working on it, man. I'm working on the lab. It's serious. It's for my grandparents. You can't make me. All right, here we go. All right. The embargo split us before our parents were born on opposite sides of a missile crisis. His grandfather lost their English on the way to Havana. I picked up Spanish, but it falls under the pressure at the table, after the lunch table. He finds a bed in the bottom of a beer bottle, runs from it, back to our family reunion. Our grandparents were cousins. Now they are dead. Conversations that can't be reintroduced in the moment because the translator is in the bathroom, or walking back, or far enough for me to see our native tongues are not indigenous to our bodies. They are proofs of purchase replicating on autopilot. They are auction block fugitives pledging allegiance to the branding iron. They are African voice boxes crushed into blood diamonds bought and sold on the black market. No matter how far from the plantation, me and my cousin still ain't free to meet. We can't even speak without a master of both present to translate our trademarks. Thank you. Thank you. All right, and I'll do this last piece, and this is the piece that kind of inspired Skip Tracer as a. Are we on time? We good on time? Good. We good on time? Check me out. All right. Rolling ocean. Crashed between her toes. Sand built the coastline. She tight-roped yesterday to her back. Facing tomorrow with the Panamanian sun set in the most black of her, mouth full of clumsy English, rickety on her Spanish tongue, shuffling Caribbean accent marks inconspicuously. She blended in Jamaica, where Cuba gave her the sun she spoke clumsy too in Canada. West Indian camouflaged her, Panama, invisible mistress of the skies, toggling West Indian syntax, translucent at the border in full masquerade. My grandmothers were dream catchers. Hopscotching countries, jumping identity double Dutch, watching greener shades of brown grass darken every time she landed behind the language barrier she clutched. Yesterday's tongue, under today's image, exercising her phonetics to flip acrobatic English. Easy for her, foreign tongue was Spanish in Jamaica, Jamaican in Canada, Canadian in New York, reaching for citizenship, red taped out of range with immigration on her heels until her last breath evaporated. Above Los Angeles, as black, as planned, her maple leaf colored children sifted, accent-free, obscured behind Jamaica. Panama was blindfolded, monolingual. My tongue now rolls as rickety as her English did 3 countries before, 1 cold shoulder ago. Latin America recognized me no more than Jamaica did. Call me American boy, under breath, over unbroken speech patterns, lost in translation. I felt invisible, while visibly in neither command of enough Spanish nor Patois to correct the secrets hiding her inside me, undetectable even in death. She lives around the border of my eye, while I, tongues away from the language she learned to speak in the New York of my tongue, 2 generations away, and I kid you not, I'm in the dark of this dance hall. Multiple Spanish reggae tones mocking the star-spangled portion of my red, black, and green footwork falling off of every drum beat chuckled at me, this collage of a woman, tildes between her locks and Patois flowing from Latin roots when she smiled. She smiled me still. When she spoke me speechless and somehow made me homesick for a place I had never been. Thank you very much. Thank you. Boom, I beat the clock. Check me out.
You good on time?
I'm good on
I'm
time.
gonna move this for you, sorry.
Okay, what is this? Oh, because you know that I'm allergic to them.
Yes. Okay. Jive Poetic. We've had conversations before, but I get to ask new ones. I'm really excited.
All right, me too.
First things first.
I pop up.
Honey's. And there are only 3 books left, y'all, so.
Really? Oh, check us out. All right, people.
But on page 81 through 85, in the section records, you've created a new form of poetry.
Oh, I did. That's
yes, you
right.
did. That's good.
Check me out,
A new poetic form, any poets in the world, get ready. So my question is, what has form taught you about land and belonging?
That's the first question? That's crazy.
I'm jumping in.
What has form taught you? Whew. Well, I mean, that is first probably one of the best questions anybody has asked me about this book so far, because this book and also the exploration of this book and through my life has taught me a lot about the idea of how things are structured for us to understand them, right? I believe the body is a country, right? And I believe, with that, your hair texture gives you citizenship somewhere, your accent gives you citizenship somewhere, all of these things kind of like, and when you move, it changes the relationship, the border moves, the context changes. And so just the form of the body that I am, the form of voice that I have, it really shifted how I understood my sense of belonging, It's easy to be Jamaican on Eastern Parkway, it's like, all right, I got everything I recognize, but you want to be Jamaican, go a country, go back a yard and try and figure it out when the lights go out, what you gonna do, you know what I mean? And it's a very different thing, and I had to face that, I had to face like, okay, what I understand as West Indian is really informed by being West Indian American, and when I go to Jamaica, it's a very different experience, and that really kind of shifted my formatted understanding of what it meant to be West Indian. And I wouldn't have had that experience had I not been able to research this book. I didn't like a lot of West Indian Americans, I didn't get to visit Jamaica until my adulthood. You know what I mean? My grandparents and parents were like, "We're here. Welcome. This is it. This is your life." You know what I mean? And so it did really shift my understanding of what it means to be formed as an adult in this identity.
I think this is like required reading for first, second, third, and fourth generation folks. I do.
You should tweet that. Yeah.
Good. I'm not on Twitter anymore. I boycott Twitter.
Formerly known as X. Oh, Threads? That's the new?
That's the new.
I got a MySpace, so I don't know if it's coming back or not. Man.
You're there by yourself.
Me and Justin Timberlake. I think like Justin Timberlake's got it on there too, man. He doesn't talk to me. I get on his nerves. Okay.
Okay. So in thinking about this being required text, for folks who absolutely are aware of their families from abroad, right? But they may not have been there. Can you talk about the importance of music and lineage while creating this piece of work?
Oh man, I think, well, I'm a DJ too, and so the book is written, the idea started out as, how can I put a mixtape on the page, right? And then so I use all of these DJ gestures, you know what I mean? I spin things back, I pause things, all this stuff. And then I really started getting into ideas of thinking about, beyond the mixtape, what if this is a whole sound system? Like I mean West Indian understanding of sounds, not like the American, like this is a tape deck and it's a CD. I don't know if this still got tape decks. All right, but I'm talking about like sound class, sound system culture, and like what does it mean to put that on the page and have that system making this mixtape while you're reading it, And so like music is really present in this, but particularly with this work and music and myself, my grandmother lived a lot longer than my grandfather. My grandfather passed away when I was pretty young, and what's starting to scare me even, it used to worry me, but now I'm afraid of this, is that you ever have a song stuck in your head, but then you don't know all of the words, and then I can't sing either. I got kicked out of the choir, it's bad. But I can't sing. And so the thing is, there's this song trapped in my head, and I can't replicate it, and it's my grandfather's voice, and I can't sing it or hum it, so it means I'll never hear it again, right? And I can't ask anybody to perform it because they don't know it, right? And so it's so much of that is like just having a song trapped in there, and I wanted to put this on the page, so I named it Skip Tracer because his nickname was Skip. And the section that is about the form that Mo was talking about, it's this structure where I use turntables to break down poems about them. But I just think the idea of hearing dance hall or hearing particularly lovers rock, it allows me to romanticize this homeland of my grandparents in a way in which, I don't know that I would be able to had I not had access to it.
Can you talk about the responsibility of writing a family's history through poems? And what would you suggest for a writer attempting this kind of Olympus?
Okay, I think as writers, we all have like this responsibility to, there's a responsibility to truth, right? Responsibility to how much of it you're allowed to fictionalize, but then also, I learned with writing this book, because I'm not only telling my story, I have a responsibility to sensitivity. Like, I have to make sure I'm not exposing people or harming people that I don't want to harm with my work. I hear poets all the time, no, this is the poem, I'm gonna say the poem. And I'm like, well, there's enough things designed to hurt people of color, particularly black people. I don't need to participate in that just so I can sell some books, man. I had a cousin, and he read some of this stuff, and he was like, you can't say this, man. And I didn't think it was that bad, but it was gonna hurt somebody, you know what I mean? And I don't wanna be remembered for that, right? In a couple of hundred years, when everything that we understand about this place is evolved into something new, somebody might find this book, and I don't want them to find, this memory that I have that hurt an ancestor of theirs now. And I think that's dangerous. And so it really kind of frightens me. But also I think, we kind of have a responsibility, those of us who archive in any kind of way, and I think this is an archive, for obvious reasons, there's so much of our history we don't have access to. It was stolen, it was destroyed, it was rewritten. And I think the stories we know, we have to document it. Even if it's like a little bit skewed because you don't remember, put it down. It's gonna matter to somebody who can't find it in like a history book, right? They can't find it somewhere. So I think we have a responsibility to archive. We have a responsibility to sensitivity too.
Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking about this book in the world of other literary gems. And who is on the bookshelf beside this work?
Okay, whose work exists next to this work? Mo, when you started writing Redbone, right? Mahogany has this book, Redbone, man, and really when I saw what it was doing for your family, and I saw your family see it, I realized how crucial it was to have something like this, because our stories don't get told by us. Even when we tell them, and then Hollywood takes them and they reshape them. When I was privileged enough to see Mahogany's reading of Redbone in front of the family that it's about. And there's, you think the book is powerful enough. It's nothing like watching someone watch their own story on stage and you getting to be in the room. And so I think it's hopefully worthy enough sitting next to this book, The Cynics of Redbone. I watched Joel Leone read the other day, and I knew him as an MC. I didn't know him as he's Dominican, I believe, right?
Yes.
I knew him as an MC, but not as a long-form writer and poet. And the way he was archiving the Bronx from his childhood, that's what I want to do as well. You know what I mean? Fred Joseph's work is cold in this way too. I think, Jason Reynolds does stuff with form that I just think is going to be studied in the future. And I want the thought behind the form to sit next to things like that. Terrence Hayes, man, he created, I wouldn't think I could create a form if you didn't create a form and Terrence didn't create a form. People I know created form. You forever changed our understanding of literature because of this. You got the Murmur, right? Terrence got the Golden Show. Hey, you got to look up the Murmur. She created a form of poetry. You should assign it to your students.
This is your time.
It's a dope form. But, I see people who are doing these type. Roger Beaunerigar, man. Roger was the first poet. Roger Beaunerigar and Cheryl Boyce Taylor were the first poets I heard read out loud with a West Indian accent in the United States. And I was like, oh, I can do, because in school, they try to teach it out of you, you know what I mean? They try to teach the little quirks in our language, little nuances, not quirks, nuances in our language out of us, And then when I saw it, I said, oh, it doesn't matter if Microsoft Word underlines it spelled incorrectly, because I know people will understand this, where I'm from. Maybe it doesn't even need to be written in this way, So these are books that I hopefully is sit next to,
Absolutely will. I love that you brought up two amazing Caribbean authors, also folks who reminded us, whether you're from the Caribbean or not, that the language in your house, the familial tongue, is worthy of poetry too. Can you talk about any other Caribbean writers that we should keep our eyes out for, folks that you found while looking into the research of creating this book?
While creating this book, I decided to start reading as many poems by West Indian writers as possible, and I started going back to look at old West Indian writers. And I rediscovered Claude McKay, and I was like, man, this guy was incredible. Like the way in which he can hide poems within poems and these sort of things. I think after I reread his stuff, I started buying everything. It didn't matter if he wrote it or somebody wrote it at the bottom. I ordered it and I got it. West Indian poets that I really, there's a local poet, man. His name is Osajifu, man.
Yes.
Ras Osajifu. And every time I see him on stage, he'll perform, and I'm not confident the audience fully understands what he's saying, but he is so invested in it, that it resonates. I've also been looking at the poetry in West Indian music a lot lately, and it's not just, as they would put like, roots and dub. It's not roots and just like dancehall stuff too. I've been finding these things. I think while his work is dangerous sometimes, I don't think many dancehall artists write place as well as Popcorn does, right? Like I listen to his stuff and I can imagine a party that I wish I was at, And I think it's fascinating that he's able to do this. I mean, also his parties sound very dangerous sometimes too, but I'm fascinated by what he's doing. Kamal Brathwaite, what he does with structure. I didn't realize, the voices don't have to be, and such and such said this. It could just actually be, I changed the font, and the font be a new voice. And I probably would have never discovered that if I didn't read his stuff. So.
And I love that you brought in Asajifu, who is also related to.
Yeah, I don't know if he likes people to tell it.
He does.
He does. Oh, Asajifu is Baby Sham brother too. So, see, they didn't know that. Now they gonna be all.
That was the gym.
You live next door to me, Asajifu. You never tell me nothing about this.
But no, the gym is right. Like Cheryl Boyce Taylor is the mother of Fife Dog. Asajifu is the brother of Baby Sham, and to see like the lineage
That's right.
of literature throughout both of these generations is really impeccable.
Well, I think so. I think also, I don't know if people realize, but it dawned on me very early. Cheryl Boyce Taylor was a poet, slam poet. She's still a poet, but she used to compete. She was on the New Eurekan team in the early '90s. At the same time, her son Fife was on Tribe Called Quest. So literally, her voice was capturing my attention from everywhere. It was either poems that she has written or poems that her son has written, which he is a poem she's written, you know what I mean? And so they're all like, her voice had been around me for most of my young to adult life, And so, yeah, I think also, when I think about hip hop, I think about, that as a West Indian American story too. I mean, obviously there's the conversation now about who founded, who created it, but like you cannot deny that it was influenced by West Indians, if not created by, and I think so too is my story, right? I was born here, but I'm deeply connected to back home, and I'm still trying to navigate both,
So we have the pleasure of listening to you DJ again, and then you'll be signing books. But before we get to the last question, if there's a question out there, do let me know. We have a couple of minutes for 2 questions. I'm wondering if there's a poem that you've never read in public. I know it is. So can you read the poem?
That's how this goes.
Sorry.
Most of this book.
He was gonna be like, no, I read everything. Actually, no.
Most of this book.
Let's just get to it.
I mean, the book is still new, so. Let's see we didn't plan this, so now I gotta find one of the ones that.
So while you're finding that, I want you to also think about who did you listen to as you were editing these poems?
Listen to as my editors, or listen to as my trusted counsel of
your musical soundtrack.
Ooh, it's a lot of it's in this book too. I listen. I can't stop listening to Sanchez, man. His voice is so smooth, man.
Butter.
Yeah. I I listen to a lot of Bounty Killer, man. Bounty Killer makes me feel like I can conquer the world, man. Like if you
Hangry.
like cross hangry, Miss Arab. Like I literally will be walking down like Eastern Parkway, my family tried my best to survive the streets, you know what I mean? Like, and Welcome to Jamrock, Damian Marley is one of my favorite songs of all times. And then there's I listen to a lot of like I listen to a lot of sound clashes. I watch sound clashes online, man, because I really wanted to just like see what elements of the culture I can put into a book. What part of this book would be the selector? What part of this book would be the record crate? What part of this book would be the speaker system? What part of this book would be a dub plate? Like I have things in here where I crossed things off and rewrote them like they were dub plates too. So it was a lot of watching too, particularly like watching these sound clashes and going to them.
Yeah. So the poem you haven't read yet.
I have it. And I'll read it. It's called Dear Louise, and it's to my great grandmother. And this is a picture of pictures in the book too. She's one of the most documented people in my family. I've never lived in a house without a picture of her on the wall. And when I was researching this book, I started finding her. She was appearing in like newspapers and articles and journals. And then I started finding things like she was causing protests. She was getting arrested for not cooperating with police. And I'm like, what must it have been like for you, a woman in this time period, fighting cops? So I wrote this piece, and it's a letter to Louise, my great grandmother, my grandmother's mother. All right. Dear Louise, if obituaries are worth their weight in tombstones, stress poured your mother from her body. If newspapers are worth their weight in horror, she saw your father kill Africans for the crown. If military is worth its weight in segregation, his rank was white and officer. If one drop rule is worth its weight in racism, your mother will keep us. If sermon is worth its weight in asylum, your husband was a sanctuary. If cut brake lines are worth their weight in sniper rifles, he was assassinated by a traffic stop. If echoes are worth their weight in helix code, raise your daughter to raise my mother, to raise me on oxtail soup, eucalyptus oil, and insight to see there is still a war against Africans. If IMF debt is worth its weight in weapons, the IMF planted landmines through Jamaica and poverty exploded. If sabotage is worth its weight in intervention after you die, be a malfunctioning canister, refusing to tear gas our uprisings over African schoolgirls gone missing, over playground slides into prison yards, over food deserts, over corroded water, over housing crisis, over healthcare costing whatever body part we can't afford to lose. We can't afford to lose. If proof is worth its weight in patterns, there is still a war against Africans, and we have been fighting it for as long as you can remember. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Were there any questions from the crowd?
Hi.
Hello. Hi.
I found this deeply resonant as a, Caribbean American person with multiple heritages.
Yes.
African American, Haitian, Barbadian for me. And I liked what you were saying about this sort of incomplete sound. Like you have this hum, or you have this song, or you have this lullaby, or you have this part of memory, but it feels, also deeply silent.
Yes.
So I'm curious about how you balance silence and sound. How are you thinking about silence in your family history, and the sonic landscape that is sort of emblematic of Caribbean life? Like there's no silence in
No.
there's no silence in Port-au-Prince, there's no silence in Jacksonville, there's no silence in Kingston,
No.
So how do you think about that? Do you think about that? How would you think about that?
I do think about it a lot, and I think about the disruption of that silence, and also the disruption of the sounds too. So if you think about like a skip, right? If you know like vinyl records, a skip will reroute your whole experience, right? If you listen to it, you put the needle on and it plays and you're grooving, and if it skips, your body's uptight, you gotta get up, you gotta change it. It will reroute these things, So like I think about what sounds and what interferences get into these sounds all of the time, and the silence sometimes is a little frightening. And largely because of this, right? And I found this with my exploration trying to learn Spanish, right? with West Indian language, I don't like to use the word dialect because I think it creates hierarchy. And I think Patois is a language. It's not no. You better know how to speak it or they're going to know you're not. You know what I mean? So I think understanding it as a language is a thing. And the silence that disturbs me in that arena is people aren't often willing to help me practice it, and that scares me because then what if I can't will it forward? What if it stops with me? You know what I mean? And that's scary because it'll be silenced forever, at least from how I inherited it. And that's frightening to me. Because if it was Spanish, like people, you try to speak Spanish, let me help you, let me practice with you. You try to speak Spanish, like, all right, Yankee, you're done with that, you know what I mean? And so I am frightened by the willing of silence forward, particularly with stories that get silenced,
Beautiful question. Thank you. Any others? Okay. So before, because we're at
we got
3 o'clock.
We got 3.
We're doing good. We're doing good. Okay.
Well, check us out then. All right.
So I have a fun question.
Okay.
And then I have a serious one. Which one do you want first?
Hey, dealer's choice. What you say? You want the audience to pick? You can pick it out.
Fun.
Okay. All right.
Name 5 instances
Okay.
in which sucking of the teeth is the response.
5 instances of
5. That's my fun one.
No, that's a traumatic one. Like every
What?
time I know, if somebody sucked the teeth, you might get smacked or something like that.
It's helpful. You know what's coming.
Okay, sucking of the teeth. When you go to Golden Crust and they tell you they don't have no rice and peas.
Oh, we ain't got that.
You better not have that.
We don't have that.
And they just got, they got the rice with the vegetable, the mix.
The fact that everyone's
They know.
Arr.
You guys walk into that Golden Crust, you be like, you guys got this from the box and boiled it, didn't you? You cannot do that. 5 instances? Okay. Sucking out of teeth.
I know 2.
You know 2?
Yeah.
Did you see me involved in it or you just know?
No, it happened to me.
What was it?
When we went to the roti shop, and I
Oh,
asked,
you want to tell people this?
I don't mind.
Okay.
It was delicious.
They all suck their teeth together.
No, don't suck your teeth at me though, okay? Okay.
All right. Yeah,
So I got my roti made, and I asked them to put my rice inside the roti.
She did it. She just did it. She just did it. She just did it. She just did it.
I'm from California.
She just
and
did
I
it.
like burritos, all right? So
She just did it. Oh, I remember that. And look,
it was delicious.
handsome. Yo,
It's so yummy and filling.
we were at. Listen, all right. We were at.
She was mad.
You can't beat that one. That one is. We were at Ali's on Utica, right? Which is you already got to know the etiquette because look. All right, for those who don't know, Ali's is. You gotta already know the script before you get there. It's not that big. The line is not a straight line. They're waiting in a circle, so you gotta know which part of the circle to join, and
Yes.
it's gonna carousel back. And everybody get. So we finally rotate our part of the circle to the front. And I said, all right, they're not very patient in Ali's, all right? And she said, right? And then Mo's like, yeah, can I have some rice in it? And they was
Stop with the spoon like this, and I was like. Because I said what I said. I want that rice. It's delicious.
And then they were staring at. Then they had a stare down too, right? Because and I had the spoon, and I'm like, oh man.
And they're gonna get mad. Everybody gonna suck their teeth until I get that rice, baby.
That's probably the best one. I don't think I could be.
If you don't have clothes on the baby right, suck the teeth.
Oh.
No hat.
No hat.
Ooh. Sunstroke that baby.
Yeah.
I just talk about everybody got some new ones. They're like actually, and then that's good.
Yo, we should. You guys, if you guys think of kiss your teeth worthy moments,
teeth.
yeah, and send it to. I'm gonna put them all on Instagram. I'm just put them up, because that is.
It's gonna be our anthology for next year's festival. Just send us your responses.
That's a good one.
It's our fundraising effort. Thank you. All right, my final question. What is the next iteration of Skip Tracer, and how can we support?
Okay, so the idea of Skip Tracer has always been for it to exist in 3 forms, right? Book, then a documentary of me going back to find. So the idea was the book started with me going back tracing my grandparents and their great-grandparents back as far as I can, go to Jamaica, and then trace all of their siblings forward to wherever they ended up around the world, go around and meet them, and then write a poem. And Christina Alvarez right here helped me, Mo and Christina helped me in Cuba, because apparently there's a lot of Jamaicans in Cuba. It's a lot of Jamaicans in Cuba, and so I'm going around the world, trying to meet these cousins, and I want to document it, because I want, it really matters to me, right, that we understand how connected we are. And I think right now, particularly with this, as they're phrasing it, migrant crisis, and really it's just a way to racialize, and okay, I won't go there, we understand this. But I think it would matter more to people if they realize we're a lot more closely related than one would think. You know what I mean? I've spent my whole life identifying as this West Indian American, this Jamaican American, and then when I went to find my family, I found all these Jamaicans living in Cuba and Panama, right? They were living in these other places. If I didn't know that, I would think their problems and their struggles were unrelated to mine, and I think we need to know that our struggles are interconnected, and we have to address them as a collective. So I want to create a documentary for that. And I also want a performance that incorporates DJing, the book, and visuals, because this book largely was inspired by a collection of pictures my grandmother had. And I want to be able to show some of these things. One of them had two of my great-grandmothers in a picture together, which I think is, I don't know a lot of people who have two great-grandmothers sitting together in a picture. It's very rare. So I'm like, okay, this is something I want to share with the world, because I want everybody to dig into their families and share these stories. So I think it should exist in all accessible forms, audio, visual, tactile, all these things.
We can't wait to see what's next. Thank you for our marching orders to archive our people's voices.
Archive your people.
And for the next couple of 15 minutes or so.
Is that right? We got 15?
We have DJing that's going to happen.
Oh, cool.
And then we have book signing that's going to happen.
Okay.
Please make some noise for poet, tenure track professor.
That's me.
And anthologist.
Check me out.
Anthropologist.
Okay.
And DJ Jive Poetic.
Large up. All right. Thank you very much, people.
So we have 3 books left at the front, and I think Jive brought 5 books at the back. He'll be signing in a couple of minutes. Please talk to each other, and thank y'all for not sucking your teeth at me.
I want you make way for the bandolero. Cause if you don't do that, my friend, then your number is 0. Them lyrics are chopped like the sword of sorrow. Should I see me in a Colorado? When I buck up the youth from Conero. When they all sit a kick up on a dollar on my caravan stay so 0.